Is that what they say when I walk by? I've got a little more gray, my steps are slow and long, and the promise you've made fades in the moonlight. I see a star, you see the Milky Way. I see one man counting sand, but you see generations. Who but you would ever choose to dream your dream in me? Tell me who but you would dare me to believe what I can see.
Good morning. Last week we left off, or we read about a story about God and His creation, right? God had created us, His ultimate creation, and we talked about His desire to have a relationship with that creation, His vision to walk through the garden for all of man's days with man in the garden, right? But then we found out about Adam and Eve, who had a different ending to that story, right? They made a different decision than the decision God wanted them to make. And sin entered the human race. But that's okay, because we also read that God passionately sought after us, didn't we? He was looking for a way to get back with us. And today, we're going to study about one of His plans to get back to us by building a nation of faithful followers. If you brought your Bibles, let's open up to Genesis 12. We're going to start in verse 1 and go to verse 3. Is that me looking up and down causing the echo? Nice. There we go. Chapter 12, verse 1. Now the Lord said to Abraham, "Go from your country and from your kindred and your father's house to the land that I will show you. And I will make you a great nation. And I will bless you and make your name great, so that you will be a blessing." Got to turn my page. "I will bless you. I will bless those who bless you, and I will dishonor. In him who dishonors you, I will curse. And in you, all the families of the earth shall be blessed." Well, right off the bat, God introduces us in this chapter to the two main characters that are going to lead out this nation. Abraham, who was originally named Abram. Later on, his name's changed to Abraham. And his wife, Sarai, who is later called Sarah. Now, Abraham and Sarah are to be the patriarch and matriarch of this coming generation of faithful followers. And God tells Abraham that you're going to have many nations raise up underneath you. You're going to have many, many children. In fact, if you looked at the sand at the beach, your children will be so numerous that they would equal the grains of sand on the beach. They will equal the stars in the sky, he tells them later on. So Abraham and Sarah are going to be this matriarch and patriarch of this new nation of faithful people. However, we follow their journey of faith, and it's not perfect, is it? It's not perfect at all. They struggle with it from time to time, and we see that at one point, Sarah Abraham is now 87, and there's still no children, and Sarah kind of takes matters into her own hands. And she offers up Hagar, her maidservant, to Abraham to have children with. Now, guys, I didn't see where Abraham really objected to this, okay? So keep that in mind. I think he's in this with Sarah. And they're thinking, man, I'm 87 years old. I got to have my kids. I got to get this nation started. I know I'd be thinking that. And so, from Hagar, they have Ishmael. But that was not God's plan, was it? It was not God's plan at all. So God takes Abraham and Sarah, and he says, I think you've matured enough now that you're 100 and Sarah's 91. And we're going to give you the child that I promised you. And we're going to bring forth the great nations. Now, folks, I got to admit, if I was 100 and my wife was 91 and God came to me and said, I'm finally going to give you your first child, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying that at all. Are you? I mean, what are you thinking? I mean, there's no way. I'm supposed to be the father of many nations and we're going to start at 100? I don't think so. But see, now Abraham and Sarah, that's not their attitude, right? When they have Isaac, they are grateful. And they remain faithful to God. So now we have Isaac in the picture. And now God is going to start this new generation, this nation of faithful believers. So they've got one kid under their belt. And if I remember right, when I read the rest of the story, they only ever had the one kid. Now God comes to Abraham and he says, we're ready to build that nation. I want you to take some wood and I want you to go up on this hill and I want you to kill Isaac. Perfect logical sense, right? I'm ready to build a nation, so we're going to kill the one and only heir to this nation, right? That makes sense. And we've talked about this before. I think this is where God's logic and man's logic follow the same parallel. Man's logic says, that's not a good idea. And God's logic says, that's exactly what I want you to do. Maybe he's foreshadowing of something to come in the future. Possibly. Abraham, once again, much more faithful man than I. Much more faithful. He takes Isaac up there. He builds the altar. He places Isaac on the altar, and as he raises the knife to sacrifice Isaac, the angel stops him. God stops it and your faith. Now we're ready to build nations from you. Now we're ready to get busy building this nation of faithful followers. So, you're thinking, okay, great. I'm 100. I just tried to kill my son. And now we're going to get busy building this nation. But it doesn't happen. We read that Abraham dies at the age of 175, roughly. And he has no more children with Sarah that we have accounts of. But Isaac, his son, is still alive. Now Isaac has struggles, and he doesn't have kids for quite a while. But finally him and his wife, they have... I jumped ahead there. Jared, you want to pop? There's Isaac. Okay, now Isaac and his wife, now they're getting ready to build the nation. It takes them a while to have kids, but when they do, they're going to have twins. All right. Times 2 right off the bat. Jacob and Esau. Now, we know the story of Jacob and Esau, most of us. Esau was a man's man, right? He was hairy. He probably smelled really bad. He was always hunting, you know. He was his dad's favorite. Jacob, on the other hand, well, he's a mama's boy. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with mama's boys. I turned out just fine. Thank you, Mom. There's nothing wrong with mama's boys. We can learn to hunt. We can grow hair and things like that. Rogaines out there. It works. There's nothing wrong with mama's boys. But Isaac played favorites, and he loved Esau, right? And he's going to give Esau the birthright. Esau is going to be the one who brings forth nations of faithful people. Not exactly. Rather, this be part of God's plan, or be the interference from his mom and Jacob. They steal the birthright. They trick Isaac in his old age, and they steals the birthright from his brother. It is from Jacob that we're going to get 12 sons. He's going to get, from his 2 wives and his 2 concubines, he's going to get 12 sons that represent what? The 12 tribes of Israel. And this is the beginning of a nation. The beginning of a nation of faithful people. As you follow that story, you have Abraham up here, and he's looking to the stars, being faithful. He's looking at Isaac, or the best picture I could find of somebody that might have looked like Isaac. And then Isaac leads to Jacob and Esau. And then Jacob will lead to these 12 tribes. That's quite a bit of time. I didn't go through the process of figuring it, but it's a couple hundred years or more. See, God didn't make Abraham's promise happen overnight, did he? It wasn't an instantaneous. But God said, because you remain faithful to me, your offspring will bring forth the great nations of faith. A couple hundred years later, he left that part out. For me, I would have struggled with that. How many of you would have struggled with that? How many of you would have struggled with the idea that it's going to take a couple hundred years to get what I wanted from God? Nobody? You guys are all very faithful people. Very faithful. How many times have we, as individuals, asked God to grant us a request? I mean, anybody done that? Just me and Larry? A couple people? Nobody asked God for anything, right? Too busy to pay attention, or you just have everything you need, right? I know I get on my knees and ask God for stuff all the time. Now, how many of us, when we've asked God, how many times has God come back and asked us to show some faith? How many times did he just throw it out there right away for us? I know a lot of you have heard my story about how we got here. I begged my wife years to let me become a preacher, and she kept saying, absolutely not. But I remained faithful that God would change her hardened heart. That dearly later. I remained faithful that that is what God wanted me to do. But I also respected my wife, and I got other jobs and put bread and food on the table, took care of the bills. But eventually, God made that happen. Eventually, God made that happen. It took years. It took a long time. It took a long time for me to get to here. But it eventually happened. But how many times has God asked us to be faithful? Sit still for a little bit and be faithful. How many times has our response been, I can't have faith in Him? Now, I bet all of us would say, I've never said I couldn't have faith in God. So let me reword it. How many times have we said things like, I can't wait that long. I can't hold out that long. I need help now. Not tomorrow, now. How many times have we said things like, I can't sacrifice that. I need this stuff now. I can't give that up. I will stop tomorrow, but not today, God. Not today. Tomorrow. How many times have we said, it's too difficult. It's too hard to do what you're asking of me. How many times have we said, I am not strong enough. I guarantee you, you will never be strong enough. Right? That's why He sent His Holy Spirit. Because He knew we weren't strong enough. How many times have we said, I'm too busy. Too busy. I'm too busy worrying to do what you asked me to do. I'm too busy working to worry about money. I'm too busy working to worry about my family. That goes on a tombstone really well. If he'd only spent more time at work. I see that all the time. How about you? Never comes across that way, does it? How many times have we said these kinds of things to God? How many times have we lacked faith in what God could do for us? Out on the plains of Kansas, one dark night, a little farmhouse erupted in flames. And in the second story, there was a little boy sleeping, and he woke up kind of late with the smoke and the flames, and his only means of escape from the house was to climb up on the roof. He climbed up there, and then he realized he couldn't get down. And he was afraid. There's lots of flame, heat, smoke, ash blowing in his eyes. And he began to cry. And then he hears the voice of his father at the eave of the house. And he's hollering, "Son, jump. I will catch you. I'm right here. Jump." The boy stops his crying for a minute. And he tries to find his dad through the flame and the ash. And he says, "Dad, I can't see you. I can't find you. Where are you?" He says, "Son, I am right here. Just jump and I will save you." The boy curls back up on the roof and begins to cry again. "Dad, I can't jump. I can't see you." The father says, "It's okay, son. I can see you. And that's all that matters. I can see you. Jump." See, that's the way God is for us. Sometimes we can't see Him working in our lives. Most of the time, we don't see Him working in the lives of those around us. But He always sees us. And He says, just jump. Just jump. I'm here to hold you. I'm here to catch you. I'm here to protect you. I'm here to lead you and make you a faithful nation. Abraham jumped. Can you jump? Can you continue on the idea of the faithful nation that comes through Christ's descendants? Now, we're adopted children. We're not the descendants of Abraham, but we are part of that faithful nation. And God asks us to just jump.